Hello, everyone. Hello, my name is Denise H Lawrence, and welcome to Woman to Woman. That's Woman, the number 2 Woman podcast. I'm your host, Denise H Lawrence, and I'm excited that you've decided to join this journey with me towards wellness. Now, Woman to Woman space is created for women to be empowered, to be uplifted, to be encouraged. And so today I'm excited to introduce to you Reina Rose.
Thank you so much for having me, Denise. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So let's jump right into the book now, because sin tastes good.
And sin only means missing the mark. It's like admitting our weaknesses. And oftentimes, especially in Christian circles, we walk around just being like, here's the good I did, and I'm so good, and I'm perfect. But that's that same way I was before my brother died, and no one could relate to me. No one could come to me with their problems and their struggles and the hard things of life that really lead them to knowing Christ anyway. Sometimes it's those tough things. You need hope. And if we seem perfect, which none of us are, so let's just stop.
Right.
People can't come to us. They don't trust that we'll be gentle when they're in their weakest moments.
Yeah, I think it was Maya Angelou that says that, something about having a story buried inside of you. What good is it, right? So, and I'm just like paraphrasing what she's saying, but basically for me, that has become like the foundation of who I am and what I do. It's this transparency, the being authentic and being real. And so that people can relate to you. But I mean, just to be real, just to be transparent, just to be authentic and share your story. And I think too often we live in this world where, okay, not everyone is ready to share. And I understand that because it takes us time to get to that healing place. But once you are at that healing place and you are no longer bitter, but you're better, share. Because somebody is waiting for it. Somebody's deliverance is depending upon you being authentic and being real. Like you said, from that experience, the person was like, wait, now you're like human.
When we open up about our hurts and our pains, that's when another person is able to glean the lessons we already learned from it. When my brother died, he was 24, I was 27. And there was 2 people in my life, one who had lost her brother my brother was lost in a motorcycle accident. Hers was in a skateboarding accident. And then the guitar player at our church had lost his brother recently as well. And the guitar player at our church told me the second year is the hardest. Just so you know, like the first year you go through, you're completely numb. Everybody's like trying to help and things. But by the second year, everyone's kind of forgotten. And you're just starting to feel. So don't feel like you're going backward because the second year's hardest. And had I not had someone who opened up to me about their pain, in the beginning of my pain, I would have thought I was going crazy come the second year, because I'd be like, I'm supposed to be getting better, right? It's been a year, I should be healing. But really, when it comes to the death of someone so close to you like that, I mean, he was my best friend in the whole world. He was the person, that person that you text any like silly thing that's on your mind and you'll never bother them.
Yeah.
He was that person for me. And, then I did like pick up my phone to go text and I realized I can't, right? And so the second year I started getting worse, but I knew at least, hey, Mark said it's going to get worse this year. So I'm not going crazy. I'm not, not healing. This is just part of it.
Yeah. Wow. So I know you talked earlier about you being, teaching to the Russians, and I know, but my audience doesn't know that you speak multiple languages.
Varying levels of fluency, but yes.
Exactly.
It depends how long I've been in the country. I was once fluent, like really fluent in Spanish, but I lived in South America. So I was like, and then when I was in France, I could speak pretty well. And Russian, I've always been a bit like, my kids can speak to me and I'll know what they said and I can answer. But then to form a new question, I've got to ask the translator. But yeah, I love culture. I think I told you, I grew up 3 degrees north of the equator in Brunei. And so I literally went to school with, my brother and I might've been the only Americans there. And there was kids from Asia, Europe, all over the world in this international school. And so and the thing that I loved about it, that's been such a culture shock coming to America, this super, polarized country, was that we had all these different cultures and countries at our school, and it was all celebrated. It was celebrated that your skin is a different color than my skin. And even your religion's a different religion than my religion. Like, what can I learn from you? And so we celebrated every difference. And then, like, honestly, I think the trees outside don't say your leaves are red and mine are green and one's better than another. It's like, wow, we can go out and see this God has created a kaleidoscope of nature and humanity, and it should all be celebrated, right? I mean, every color, every size, every accent, it's just so beautiful. I get like emotional just thinking.
Yes.
And that's what we need to learn as a culture, right? Is to have depth with one another and invest the time, because people are worth it. That's, sometimes I talk to groups that work, to make a whole bunch of money and have no time for their relationships. And what are you making all this money for if you don't enjoy the people that you're making money for, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's so important that we engage and we invest the time in one another.
It's real. It's reality. And that's what I love about this book. It's real. It's practical.
Can't judge others, because if I don't have a problem with shopping, I can window shop all day and I'll be fine. I actually, when I was traveling, especially because I'd be in a small suitcase, if I liked something, I'd take a photo of it. And if I couldn't stop thinking about it all day, I might go back and get it, So I would window shop, look around, but most likely I wasn't going to get it. But I'm not a shopaholic. My stuff is other stuff, right? And so, I've never experienced alcoholism. So for me, going to a bar, I really don't want more than one drink. It's not going to be a problem for me.
Right.
But, I deal more with pride, and I deal more with, critical spirit. So I might need to really check myself before I'm going to meet with a really close friend or family member that, I might be holding them to an impossibly high standard. And so before I get together with that person, I might need to go through in my mind some of the things that they say that sometimes I'm like, well, why aren't you following through on that? Well, why aren't you doing this? Instead of, kind of condemning them, I need to go in and say, I can have grace. And, I can ask them a much more loving question than just, why aren't you doing this thing? And what can that be? And so that's my environment. It's actually closer people to me that I can tend to hold to an impossibly high standard. Like I said, before I got divorced and went through all this stuff and actually realized that I was human. I realized I was human. I was the Christian who was up there like, I live a perfect life and you need to do things better. And you're probably not a Christian and not saved if you don't do it this particular way.
Right.
And I wish I would have read this book, 20 years ago.
Right.
And known that there was another way to, in fact, if you're representing Christ, like, he was so peaceful and calm and non-judgmental. And, he met people where they were. If they were at the well, if they were about to be stoned, he met them there.
Don't talk about that well now. That's my thing.
Oh, yeah.
We've had conversations about that.
Yes, we could do a whole podcast just on the woman at the well.
But that's exactly who he was. He was that kind of he's always been that kind of a God, right? That Jesus that would meet us at our place. Mm-hmm. He didn't judge us for where we were, but he met us at our place. Right. And I think if we could take that on, and so we say we want to be like Christ and we're supposed to be like Christ, right? But we tend to forget that. And I thank you for bringing that back to us, where we're just going to have to do this deep thing, internal search, and just really just shine the light on me, God, create in me a clean heart and renew within me a right spirit, right? So that I may what, and that's where we need to be. And I'm glad you did this. I'm glad you went through it. I know you must have been like, whoa, what a title. Let's have a question here. You sure this is a title you want me to put here?
That's exactly. I was like, I don't think Christians will read this title. And it's like, sorry, that's the title. All right, God, that's what you say. And it's funny because the title came first. The whole rest of the book came after the title. Every time I sat down on my laptop, I just prayed like, okay, God, like, let this be what your people need to hear, not just me spewing my stories about, oh, check me out, my life.
I know the drill from one author to the other.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, I wrestled with one title for 4 years, and I'm like, the one that we just talked about. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you sure this is what you're telling me? For 4 years, I've been asking you. It's been written, it's sitting there, but I'm like, I don't like the title you gave me. Like, this is gonna cause problems, right?
You know what? I think we're in a time, you're called for such a time as this.
Yes.
Denise, you're an Esther of our time. You are called for such a time as this. And at this time, there are people hurting, and there are people who have had scars, and there's disruption happening all over the place, but necessary disruption. So much racial things going on in our society today, and there's disruption happening because it shouldn't be happening anymore. This was should have never happened in the first place, but should have ended a long time ago. So people are standing up and saying this needs to be disrupted. And same thing in our churches. If we still have Pharisees in our churches today, which we do, it needs to be brought to the light. And I'd say, being Pharisee among Pharisees myself, and prayerfully getting better, I want to know if I'm being a Pharisee instead of the tax collector up on the hill in humility. Because, we don't want to see our own ugly parts. Yeah. But sometimes we need to be disrupted and see, like, it's not okay to keep judging people who come into church. It's not okay to, not allow people to find their own path to Christ. Is that, if we're all going to go to Dublin, Ireland, right? You're coming from the East Coast, I'm coming from the West, maybe someone's coming from India, someone's coming from Africa. We're all going to the same place.
Come on.
But our routes are going to look very different.
Absolutely.
Right? We might take planes, we may take trains, cars, it's going to look different, and it's okay. Jesus said those who seek will find.
Yes.
And if you seek to affirm your own beliefs, you'll find it. But if you seek truth, you'll find that. And so if someone's seeking truth, we don't have to worry about them. Yeah. They will find the truth. And if we know who the truth is, we know that they'll find God. We know that they'll find Christ.
Absolutely. Reina, all my guests that appear on my show, I always ask them to do one thing, which is to speak to the audience and to, in that way, give a call to action.
Well, I'd say for your own soul and those around you, the very best thing that you could do, go out somewhere where you won't be disturbed. Allow God to come up and speak with you. And you have to get into quiet and not being disturbed to do that. And just see what he puts on your heart and then follow it.
Again, just give us your platforms that you're on, again, so our listening audience and our viewers can actually follow you and be prepared and excited as I am for the book release, and also to stay tuned for the PDF, the free product. Hey, who doesn't like freebie, right?
Yeah, so the best place to get a hold of me is Instagram. I'm The Soul Nutritionist with the little underscores under the words. You can also go to my website, www.reina-rose.com, but Instagram is probably the place I respond most quickly, and you'll find out about when the book hits for free, and when it comes out, you can buy the hard copies as well.
Send an email to w2wpodcastshow@gmail.com as well. So again, thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a joy.
Again, ladies, thank you so much for listening to Women to Women. We provide to you content that is relatable and practical. And we thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, I'm your host, Denise H Lawrence. Bye now. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.